G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke, here you go. Got myself a beer. If you're a regular to the channel, you know I like to drink me beer while I do bonsai. If you're new, well, get used to it. Anyway, in this one, I'm going to do something a fair bit different to what I normally do. Normally I work on my bigger trees. I've got all big trees. I realised, I've been neglecting the beginners out there, not really doing much beginner stuff, so I thought I would do a bit of a beginner one, not start to finish of a tree, just what a lot of you would have out there, basically nursery stock. This is just what I got sitting around in my stock area. This is some sort of an Australian native, honey myrtle maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, and this is a trident maple. So basically we're going to work on these two and pretty much just show you what you can do as a beginner if you want to get something that looks semi like a bonsai from the start. And this one here, maybe the first stage is in creating a bonsai. But first I'll show you outside and show you the real. This is not the way that I would normally make a bonsai. I want to make that clear. It's not normally the way I'd make a bonsai, but I do understand that there's people out there with the nursery stock and they want to make a bonsai straight away and put it in a pot, and that's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. And I'm going to show you how to do that with this one today. And also the first styling on this one. This one will be a little bit more like how I would do it, except I haven't fattened up the trunk, and normally I'd want a fatter trunk. So I'll take you outside, show a few trees, and show what I would normally do if you're new to the channel. If you've been watching for a long time, you'll know, you would have seen all my trees and seen how I work on them anyway. And if you want, you can go back and have a look at them if you haven't, but I'm going to show you outside first and show you the steps I would normally take to make a tree. This is not going to be in full depth detail. I want to do a big full-on video one day of start to finish, but this is not it today. This is just going to be a beginner one. Okay, taking you outside. It's very windy out here, so the noise could be crap. I don't have a sound mic for this phone now because the plug and adapter is completely different, so I don't know whether I have to get a new adapter, but just a bit of an overview of my trees. I know I've got weeds and crap here everywhere, but okay, this is sort of like what you look for with the final trees finish. Something big, full like that. If you want to have a smaller tree, you're looking for something like that, or like this one. It's a bit of a bigger tree. Trying to sell them next to it, but you can sort of get the gist. Most of them have got bigger trunks. But how I would normally start is I have a stock area here and I would let them grow in the ground like this one here. This one's an ash tree. It's going dormant now. It's nearly, well, it is autumn, nearly going in winter. And I would normally put it in the ground till I get a fat trunk like this, the size trunk that I want. Only once you get the size trunk that you want and you've got a little bit of movement in there, you can see how it moves around, then you would dig it out the ground. So that's the first 5 years. First 5 years from that trident maple that's in the shed that we're going to work on, I would actually put that in the ground for 5 years and then come out with a trunk like that. That's how I would normally do it. Okay, then once you dig it out, let some shoots shoot out. Choose where you want them, outside of bends and stuff, sort of all over the place. Just really so it fills in a lot of area you wanted some shoots. Then you would cut them back, and then you would let it divide, and then you start trimming back and ramifying it, just trimming it back all the time. Okay, so that's how I would do that one. I'll just show you a few more. Okay, so this is one that I've cut back pretty hard in a previous video. Cedar. But here's another example, just a trunk. This one here has just recently come out the ground. Had it in the ground for a few years. Now I'm growing the side branching. It's not a great example because not too many branches grew. So there's not enough branches. I'd normally want more than that, but that's what you do. And then once these are fattened up, you cut them right back short. Then you let them divide, and then you start cutting them back into short shoots, and only 2 from each location. So that's how you would normally do it to get something decent. So you're talking about a 7. Here's another one, ash tree. You're talking about a 7-year process to get to that. Same with this one. Grew in the ground, had some main trunks grow up, chose some branching, and then I've ramified it. So you can see another one here, same thing, grew in the ground, put some branches on the trunk after I dug it up, grew all the branches, ramified it, and that's what you end up with. Well, we're going to work on that little tree because I know some people like to straight away get into it, and I was the same. You get straight into it and you want to develop something that looks a bit like a bonsai straight from the start. So let's go and look at it. And I know I'm doing this at the wrong time of year and everything, but we're just going to purely turn this into a little bonsai in a pot, repot it and do everything. What you normally would do. So first, we get rid of this one. Move this big heavy turntable to the side. First thing we want to do is get it out the pot so that we can see the base. Now this won't have a lot of roots because it's only been in here for a while. I was going to fatten up the trunk in here, but I've decided to do a video, okay, on basically turning a little bit of nursery stock into a bonsai. Okay. Okay, first things first, I've got these awesome tools from Stephen McKay. He handmade these, absolutely beautiful, made them for me, sent them to me, great bloke. Dragonfly wire or something like that he's called. But anyway, enough of that, let's get to this. You just, basically you're looking for the base of the tree first. Because the best base of the tree is generally where you want the front viewpoint to be. So what you're doing is you're just raking out the roots. This nice dark soil. So you rake out the roots carefully with this. Don't pull too hard. If it gets stuck on something, stop. Otherwise you'll tear the roots apart. I do have some weeds in here as well, so you're basically just looking for the base. Making a good old mess. Okay. Keep pulling these away from the base here. It's got quite a bulb, funny looking bulb base. But anyway, so that's what you do. You just pull it away, look for that base. Funny looking squatty base, but what you got is what you got. So sometimes if you dig down in the dirt, you'll find a better base down lower. In this occasion, the lower you go, it actually starts coming back in underneath, I think, so we won't go much lower. There's not a lot of roots here, so I'm actually going to pull that out of this main big root ball. Throw that away. And plus we want to get it into our final bonsai pot anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these roots, try and work out what we think looks the best. Basically shake it all out, get it all clean. Okay. Now you can either cut these two roots off here, and have that extra flare down there. We could leave this one on. Look at it from that side. I think if we cut that one off, it's going to create a real inverse taper there. You don't want it to inverse taper, you want it to go fat at the bottom and slowly get skinnier and skinnier all the way up. So we're going to leave that one, and that'll help fatten this bit up. Okay, so we'll leave that. We've just got to decide where we want the front. I think here looks pretty good. You've got some roots coming off here. It's not the best root base in this one, but we'll work with it. Okay, I'll just get rid of that dirt. Okay, so that's the root base. Okay, so now we know which way we're going to plant it. Let's have a bit of a work on the top, because now we know what the front's going to be. So let's work on the top. So what I'm going to do, get my snips, just trim some of these really long roots back a bit. Now, so basically to have the base there, the base goes away from you, but then the top will come back at you. So you want to plant it so that it's actually angled slightly towards you, because you want the tree to look like it's coming at you, welcoming. And then we just want to select some branches at the top, but I'm pretty happy with most of these little branches. We can just bend them down. It's just, you know, obviously it's going to be a broom style because everything's all coming from that one point and shooting out. So we'll go with that. So what we want to do is just put little bits of wire on to pull some of these little branches out, just to fan them out a bit. So let's do that. Let's get some wire on it. I'll try and do a bit of a close-up when I do that. Okay, so here we got the tree here. And all you want to do now is you want to bring these ones down here so that it actually fans it out more. Okay, so you want to fan out these little branches just to create a bit more width in the canopy. And the best way to actually do that in this case, because the branches aren't very big or strong, is actually put a bit of wire underneath the base. Okay, tie it off. And actually simply just guide wire it down. It's a really nice, easy way of doing things, and it means that the branch can grow for a fair while before it starts cutting in. Cut that. Same thing on this one here. Want to pull that one down. I've tied it underneath that big root ball there. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it to the top and pull that little branch down. Simply just wrap it up. Done. Okay. Now, let's get it in a pot. That's pretty much fanned it out. You can see how it's fanned out now. Now let's get it in a pot. Okay. So we've got our pot, mesh. Okay. Now, in the bottom of your pot, you've got two big holes. What you want to do is just cut a couple of squares out. And then simply just lay them in there like that, so that the soil can't go out when you put all the soil in, otherwise it's just going to wash out the bottom. And that creates good drainage by having such big holes. Okay. Now I'll put it in there. Just got to go and get some soil. I got my tool dirty from Stephen McKay. Right. Let's just tip a bit of soil in the bottom. This is out of an old bonsai pot from one that must have died. Or I repotted it up, probably died. Okay, nice and dry. Use nice and dry soil. Pot it up a little bit higher than that. The reason you use dry soil is so that the roots work their way into the soil. The fine roots of here work, the tree work into the soil better. And I think, yep, that was the front. So we just want to work our roots in a little bit. Just push them down in the soil. I guess being a broom style, you want it pretty close to the centre of the pot. You could go slightly one way or the other. Okay. Being a trident maple deciduous tree, you could use a blue pot too if you wanted to, but I didn't have one lying around, so nice bright blue pot, or whatever you'd like to use. No rules really, whatever you like. Okay, so we put the soil on top. Lean the tree slightly forward. You can see I've leaned it slightly forward there. Spread the roots out evenly. If you want to watch a really good beginner bonsai video, go to Nigel Saunders. He does quite a few repotting videos and stuff for beginners, and he does a really good job. I'm sort of a little bit hopeless at explaining things. Now, what we want to do when you get to that point, let's do some trimming on the top. And basically, because we're doing a broom style, we just want to have a fairly, what would you call it, fairly spread out, symmetrical type of canopy. Probably want it to finish up there somewhere, so you just simply go through here and chop it all back. So you've got a nice silhouette. And then you can put this on your windowsill. This is probably, it's very similar to what you get at Bunnings or Walmart. This is pretty much how they develop them. And that's it. You can see you got your broom style. Little tree. Then we'll go and get some moss. We'll go get some moss, put that around it, and then we'll give it a soak. Okay guys, well, I feel like a little bit of a fraud doing a tree like this, because this is definitely not how I would do it. But it is a way to make a cute little tree for the windowsill at home. If you're not keen on getting right into bonsai, but you just want to have something sitting around home in the windowsill, and then just trim the top every now and then, and this is all you want, that's fine. Haven't really been much of a fraud, because I have been pretty upfront that it's not how I would normally do it. But if you want to make a Walmart, Bunnings type tree, and then trim it and look after it, this is how you do it. You want to put the moss in and around the whole pot, helps keep it moist. And when you want to take this in, well, I'll go back, you cannot put these inside. They live outside, balcony or something where you get at least 4 hours morning sun if you have a really bright kitchen window where it gets 4 hours of morning sun, it can probably live on there, but it cannot live fully inside without any direct sunlight. So there you go. Do that, and we get our watering can out. Just get rid of all this other stuff on the table here. Okay, so that's start to finish making a little Bunnings bonsai. I'll call this movie Bunnings Bonsai, because this is how they would make them. And then after a while, you can cut those wires off and the branches will stay where they are. So give it a good soak. I want you to water this tree every day, and you want to water it until it's coming out the bottom, which it is. Made a good old mess on my table here. Okay, water it again, push that moss down, and there you go. Well done guys, you've made your first bonsai, Bunnings bonsai. So I'll give you a bit of a close up of that one. Little spin of the Bunnings bonsai. And that's it. So this will develop into a broom style. No worries. Cheers for watching. Let's work on that other tree now. Okay guys, well, we got another one. This is probably more typical. I'll just make sure it's all in frame. No, it's not. Right guys, this is probably more typical what you would see at a nursery. Just sitting there as a stock plant for your garden plant to plant in the garden. This is an Australian native, some sort of, I don't know, I'm going to guess a honey myrtle of some description. So we've got that little tree there. Obviously I haven't weeded it very well. I grew this one from seed, did I? Or did I buy it as a tube stock? I might have bought it as a tube stock for the garden. And then I put it in this pot because I wanted to fatten it up for bonsai. Ideally I would fatten it up a lot more than this. The reason I haven't put it in the ground is because Australian natives don't like to be put in the ground and then dug back up. So I was actually going to just upsize it into a bigger pot this next year. It's only been in this pot for a year, believe it or not, from a tube stock. That's how fast they grow. That's what I mean. If you want to grow something, get a bonsai that actually looks half decent with a decent trunk, it actually doesn't take that long. So I would actually pot this up into a bigger pot for another few years before I actually worked on it. But I'm going to work on it today anyway. Give it a bit of a style. This is more how I would normally sort of style a tree and cut it back to almost nothing and then go again. You can see this actually grew into the ground where I had it, which is part of the reason that it's so healthy. Really healthy. Okay, so that's all the weeds gone. Now it's going to be really hard to see around the base of this tree. But you'll see there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trunks here that we can use. And basically it's going to be, I guess, a clump style. And yeah, just a clump style. So what you want with a clump style is you want to use all your trunks, but you want them all to finish at a different height. So I guess you could choose your fattest one as long as there's some ramification up top or some dividing in the branches up top. You could use your fattest ones and then use your skinniest ones for the smaller trunks. So you'll have several different trunks. So let's start on choosing some trunks. First I'm gonna, you guys can see, it's hard because the top's so big. Maybe what I'll do, I know that I'm not going to go any higher than that. I'll chop that off because I know that the final tree is not going to be higher than that. Okay, so that's gone. Actually, it smells quite nice. Okay. So yeah, this is how I generally would style something. Right, now we'll come in a bit closer because I've got rid of the bolt. Now you can hopefully see a bit better what's going on. Alright, so let's get in there. I'll try not to draw it out too long. So we're just going to cut any of these tiny little shoots off the bottom that are just far too small to make a trunk. So they're going to be gone. And then it'll open it up more so we can see what's actually going on down there. All this inside branching, cut all that off. Not too far up because you do want some branching to start pretty low, especially if you're making a smaller bonsai like this one. So I can see that base a little bit now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come to the front. Now it's going to be a clump style, which means that it's basically one plant but a heap of different trunks. We're going to find the best base on this tree. Just clean off a few more little branches. Don't go too crazy because I might need some. Alright. Now I'm not going to worry too much about digging down for the roots in this one. But you can see there's a fairly wide area here. And that looks a lot better than if you go to the narrow. You want the front to be quite wide. Okay. Here you can see the width a bit better. Okay. But what you will notice is from the back here, well, I'm going to call this the back actually, because what you'll notice is everything's grown that way. So the sun was probably on the other side, as in this side. So now we have to try and find something that's reasonably pleasing to look at from this side. So I think, and obviously we can use wire to bend some big trunks where we want them. Okay, so let's create some different height trunks. Okay, so there's one hanging out the side here, and it's got two little branches here. So I'm happy to go ahead and cut that one short. That can be our shortest trunk. It's got another bit of branch coming out there. Cut the one off on the inside coming at us. You can see that's going to be the outside trunk. So we've decided this is our front here. Now we've got two competing trunks here. It just depends on how we go about styling it as to whether we keep them all. I mean, you can even keep that one behind and just have it taller if you want to. So right, let's shorten this one now. We've decided that one is now our shortest one. So we're going to shorten them. And that'll then start ramifying down here. So that each trunk's going to have its own little bit of canopy on it. Okay, now we're going to have this one as our next height. It can be in the front there. Cut them little shoots off. Now, this trunk here, we want to keep this little side branch out here just to create a little bit more interest. So we'll probably cut that out here like that. So now you've got a side branch there, one there, a small trunk in the front here. I might cut this bit off here so that it hangs back out that way. And I might shorten that side one just to create different layers different heights. Obviously there's not a lot of foliage on now, so you got to wait for it to ramify then on the different heights and canopies that we're going to have. We're going to have different canopies around the place. Cut that one. These are side branches. Then we're going to have this one up nice and high. Okay. With some foliage on it there. This one little one at the front here can contribute to that. We can actually get rid of this one maybe. We'll see. Might keep it for now. Here we got a lot of ramification up the top. And this one here, it would be a pity to get rid of it, so I'm going to keep it and cut it near the top ramification up there. All the divisions in the branches. And now this. I might actually, this one here, I'm going to actually cut it nearly right off and just keep these two little branches, because that way you'll be able to see the main trunk a lot better. And then this back one, cut that back to the same height as the other trunk. So basically each trunk, you're just going to stop the apex of each trunk at the same height. So that one's that height, this one's that height, that one's going to be that height. This biggest branch will become the top. We'll stop it up there somewhere. You can clean off some of these inside shoots off the main trunk. Just clean a few off. Don't clean them all off though, because some of these branching can end up growing into the apex and add something later on. And then we might do another one here, similar height to that one there. Actually, I might go a bit lower. Okay. Clean off some inside ones there. So you can see now you're going to have your multi-trunk, one there, with different canopies, and it's going to look funny now, but once it fills in and ramifies, it's going to look a lot better. And everything will be all different heights, then it'll fill in, you'll get different canopies which you can trim, and you can make them all different heights. And yeah, just fill it all in nicely with all different canopies. I'll do updates on this one so you can see. At the moment you won't believe me, you'll think, nah, that bloke's full of crap, but I'm telling you, once you keep trimming it like that, you will end up with a nice little tree. You will definitely end up with a nice little tree, and you'll have a few different types of canopies, and it'll look a bit like a mallee that you would see out in the bush if you're an Australian. So anyway, that's the start of my little baby. Just a bit of nursery stock. We will get rid of this big fat thing at the top and keep these fine ones. I'm just doing a very rough first styling on this tree, just to help you get the idea. So that's two completely different methods of working on a tree. One's multi-trunk, multi-trunk mallee style, and the other one It's just your Bunnings, your little Bunnings thing. So let's pretty much stop it there, I reckon. Don't want to cut too much off, leave some green for the tree to reshoot. Okay, it doesn't look much, but I promise you it will fill in and become a nice tree in time. Just got to wait for it to regrow. No worries. That's it. Bloody ugly, isn't it? That's working on a tree. When you first start styling trees, they look pretty ugly when you first work on them, but they do turn into something later on. And these are too brittle to wire if you want to wire them too much. You can move trunks, but I kind of like the flow of that. You have different height canopies in there. So it should be all good. No worries. Cheers for watching, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. If you're a normal, regular watcher, it wasn't much of a video, I know. But those are the two trees we worked on. Really, really raw stock. And then the Bunnings job. That's the Bunnings job. That's what they sell. And they just do that. Then every now and then you come along and trim it again. And that's your Bunnings job. No worries. Cheers for watching. And I'll see you next time.